think John Dewey will forgive me if I forego reading his words this morning and use them at another time. In the interest of time, I am concerned to move along. A while back, a friend said to me in a much longer conversation, which I summarize here, he said, "Neil, I became a Unitarian Universalist because it was such a relief to be in a church that did not pressure me to believe something I couldn't believe. And I want us to be a haven for come-outers like myself. But I also want us to be a part of the larger religious community, to stand not so much over against other religions, but alongside them, with a clear and distinctive religious perspective of our own that persons can look at and consider, and that might be a compelling alternative for them, an alternative even for those who think religion has nothing really to do with their lives." I took that comment very seriously. Zealous, evangelically oriented Christians set out to win the world for Christ. They believe they have something you need. They want you to know about it. And we Unitarian Universalists are not zealots. We hesitate to proselytize. It seems presumptuous to most of us, to lay something on someone else like that, like the end of the world, for example. But at the same time, most of us do feel that our approach to religion has something special to offer that is more true to our human knowledge and reason and experience, at least as we see it. I think on the whole, we spend too much time deriding the flaws of Orthodox Christianity. And it's true that organized Christianity gives us plenty of flaws to deride. Gandhi said that as he grew up under the influence of Western colonial power, he came to love Christ and hate Christianity. And organized Christianity does do some pretty silly things. I remember some years ago now, the United Presbyterian Church, a denomination of considerable dignity as a rule, announced a series of radio commercials put together by the comedian Stan Freberg. Do you remember? Some of you remember Stan Freberg. Mr. Freberg himself, the son of a Baptist minister, donated his time, he said, as my way of getting back at the Internal Revenue Service. He was a clever guy. One of his Presbyterian radio jingles went like this. Doesn't it get a little lonely sometimes out on a limb without him? It's a great life, but it could be greater. Why try and go it alone? The blessings you lose may be your own. Then there are the recordings for evangelical Sunday schools produced by the Word Record Company of Waco, Texas. The description of one of their CDs, called The Game of Life, goes like this. It has all the excitement of a real game with dubbed-in sound effects. Christianity wins the game when Jesus Christ, the greatest coach of all times, sends in the Holy Spirit to call the last play. And Mr. Average Christian breaks loose for an 80-yard touchdown run. Now, of course, this sort of thing is silly. It's silly. Not to mention in very bad taste. But is it any sillier than the ways we Unitarian Universalists sometimes criticize Christianity? For example, is the substance of Christianity invalid because there are inconsistencies and contradictions in the Bible? One UU of my acquaintance, not in this church, exclaimed to me, "Hey," he said, I found a Bible and I showed her the two conflicting stories of creation in Genesis. And then I'm like, "And who did Adam's children marry?" Whoa. Then I'm like, "That's why I'm no longer a Lutheran." He fixed her. I mean, obviously, Christianity must go, right? But is it really so easy to dismiss 2,000 years of Western Judeo-Christian religious culture? And if so, then how would the terrible vacuum be filled? It may be easy for us to identify trivial deficiencies, but this totally misses the true heart of Christianity, as well as its serious issues. Such trivial pursuit comes off as childish iconoclasm, as almost deliberate caricature. Instead, we should ask, what are the real values of Christianity, in relation to which we can then see how our own alternative position may relate to these values, embrace them, draw upon them, and even possibly improve upon them. Let's begin with Jesus, who imparted to us a supreme ethical model. I say model. In addition to the teachings of Jesus, we have in him a supreme example, a model of an uncompromising life and a powerful death. Jesus was the embodiment of high purpose, integrity, and most particularly of compassion. Though his death may have had no literal supernatural effect, Jesus did by his living and his dying point the way from narrow self-interest and fear to forthright self-giving and life-affirming action for the good of all. By his living and his dying, Jesus instilled in our culture the sense of a world informed by a profound quality of care, even of unconditional love. We are, according to him, in an absolute sense, our brothers and sisters' keepers. This is the fundament of the Christian narrative, which has endured and will endure, and which we Unitarian Universalists inherit as heirs of the Judeo-Christian tradition to our great enrichment. The secular sciences have contributed real spiritual value to our culture as well. One such value, a gift really of evolution, is that reality is progressively becoming, unfolding. Existence is expressing and disclosing and manifesting and enlarging itself in dynamic ways constantly and entirely within the natural order of things. Today's secular humanism draws mainly on this scientific view of existence. It has disallowed us to blame some supernatural power for our own human shortcomings, emphasizing instead our own responsibility for the condition of things, but also affirming our capacity as human beings to address this condition effectively. Whatever God may exist does not reach in and manipulate events in this world, least of all to save us from ourselves. What we see instead are dependable, natural, evolutionary processes with which we may or may not cooperate, but with which we must cooperate if we are to achieve our own salvation, our own fulfillment, and that of all life on earth and of the earth itself. And again, we do in fact have the moral capacity to cooperate effectively with these natural and productive processes of evolution as the free agents we are, choosing and acting in and through this natural world of our everyday experience, the world which we actually share with each other, with others, with all of life. So we have these lasting and real values, both of Christianity and of secular humanism, not to mention a number of other influences, but these two in particular. Is what then is our distinctive perspective, the Unitarian Universalist alternative? Well, we Unitarian Universalists generally do share these Christian values I've described, except that we reject two of the primary theological tenets of Christianity. First, we generally, not in every instance, not every one of us, but we generally reject the supernatural divinity of Christ, as we generally reject all supernaturalism. We are mainly, and for the most part, convinced that ultimate reality, whatever it is in and of this world, is natural, one with all, one with us. And secondly, we reject the exclusive authority of Christ and Christianity, as we do the exclusive authority of any religion. As powerful a model as Jesus is and can be for us, we disagree with him, or at least those who claim to be quoting him, that no one cometh unto the Father but by me. We draw upon the great insights of other religious traditions and of non-religious traditions. We believe that there are many paths to God, as our hymn indicated earlier.